The air in the Providence Municipal Courtroom was thick and still. It smelled of old wood and frustration. Leo Lex Vance strutted in, his designer sneakers squeaking on the tile. He did not see a court of law. He saw a content opportunity. He adjusted his gold chain and smiled for a camera that wasn't there. He was about to learn that some stages have real consequences. Judge Frank Caprio watched the young man approach the bench. Lex moved with a performative swagger, a slight bounce in his step. He placed his phone, screen still lit, face down on the defense table. He treated the room like a film set, his eyes scanning for the best angles. His traffic violation was a minor plot point in the epic of his own life. "Mr. Vance," the bailiff's voice was a flat, bored monotone. "Case number 7B1142, speeding and failure to appear." Lex offered the judge a practiced, charming smile. "Your Honor, a pleasure." He leaned into the microphone as if addressing his followers. "I want to apologize for the administrative oversight. My team must have misfiled the court date. You know how it is." Judge Caprio's eyes, sharp and weary, did not waver. He glanced at the file, then back at Lex. "This says you were doing 62 in a 35-mile-per-hour school zone, and you ignored the initial summons. That's not an administrative oversight. That's a choice." Lex's smile tightened. He was used to controlling the narrative. "With all due respect, Judge, my work requires a flexible schedule. I'm an influencer. I create digital content for a global audience. Millions of people." He said millions with a weight meant to impress. "Sometimes a local traffic ticket doesn't quite make the priority list." A faint, condescending laugh escaped him. He expected the judge to share the joke. Judge Caprio steepled his fingers. The room was silent except for the hum of the old fluorescent lights. "A school zone, Mr. Vance, at 8:15 in the morning. That's when children are crossing the street. Your flexible schedule nearly collided with a 7-year-old. The crossing guard had to blow her whistle 3 times. She said you waved at her and kept going." Lex's confidence flickered. This wasn't the direction he'd scripted. The human detail was an inconvenience. "I'm sure it wasn't that dramatic. I'm a very safe driver. I was probably just checking an urgent brand deal notification. It's the nature of the industry. You have to strike while the iron is hot." He shrugged, a gesture of casual inevitability. He was speaking a language of modern hustle that he assumed this old man couldn't possibly comprehend. "The nature of your industry," Judge Caprio repeated, his voice dangerously soft. "Is that more important than the nature of a child's life?" "Of course not," Lex said, the reply too quick, too slick. "It's about scale, Your Honor. A single child in one street versus the positive message I deliver to millions of kids every day. I'm a role model. I'm teaching them to chase their dreams." He puffed out his chest slightly. He was on solid ground now, talking about his brand. A minor speeding ticket seems like a small price to pay for that level of inspiration, doesn't it? The judge leaned back in his leather chair. He took a slow, deliberate breath. He had seen every type of excuse, but the packaging on this one was new. The utter lack of contrition was not. "I'm going to give you a moment, Mr. Vance. I want you to think carefully about your next words. I suggest you drop the sales pitch and speak to me about your actions." Lex felt a hot prickle of irritation on his neck. The sales pitch was his identity. This judge wasn't just unimpressed. He was dismantling him. He could feel the eyes of the other people in the gallery, the normal people with their normal problems. He felt their judgment, and it was alien to him. In his world, he was the one who judged. "Your Honor, I am speaking about my actions," Lex insisted, his voice losing its polished sheen. A raw edge of defiance crept in. "My actions build an empire. They employ people. Maybe from your perspective it looks like just a car going too fast. From my perspective, it's momentum. It's the velocity of success." He spread his hands, as if the truth of this was self-evident. "You're looking at a single tree. I'm managing the entire forest." Judge Caprio's expression remained a mask of calm patience, but his eyes narrowed. "A child is not a tree, Mr. Vance. She has a name. It's Isabella. She was carrying a purple backpack with a unicorn on it. The crossing guard, her name is Carol. She's been keeping kids safe on that corner for 20 years. These are not abstract concepts in a forest. They are people. The specifics were a weapon Lex hadn't anticipated. They pinned his grand philosophies to a mundane, damning reality. He felt cornered. His platform was built on broad, unassailable statements. This old man was countering with a purple backpack. "I understand that," Lex said, his tone now tight and clipped. "But you have to understand the pressure I'm under. The analytics, the engagement metrics, the algorithm. If I'm not constantly producing, constantly moving, the entire machine grinds to a halt. My brand partners have expectations. My audience demands consistency." He was pleading now, but it was a plea for the judge to acknowledge his importance. "This court date is already costing me. A post I should be making right now. That's real money down the drain. More than this fine, I can tell you that." He had meant it to sound like a serious business assessment. It came out as a confession of his priorities. The silence in the room was no longer passive. It was accusatory. "So, the financial cost of your missed post is your primary concern here?" Judge Caprio asked, his voice deceptively mild. "It's a significant factor, yes," Lex said, mistaking the question for understanding. "It's about the ecosystem. A traffic ticket is a fixed cost. A lost opportunity has a cascading effect. It's basic economics." He nodded, confident he had finally broken through with a logical argument the judge could respect. Judge Caprio looked down at his hands, then slowly back up at Lex. The patience in his eyes had solidified into something harder. "I see. Thank you for explaining your ecosystem to me, Mr. Vance. You've made the stakes of this situation very, very clear." The turning point was not a loud event. It was a quiet shift in the atmosphere. The grandfatherly patience that Judge Caprio was known for evaporated, replaced by a focused, unwavering intensity. He closed the file folder in front of him with a soft, final sound. "Let's talk about consequences," the judge began, his voice low and clear, carrying to every corner of the still room. "You've spoken at length about your brand, your audience, your revenue. You have quantified your time. Now I will quantify mine." Lex stood straighter, sensing a verdict coming. He braced for a fine, a number he could pay and then tweet about. "The fine for your speeding violation is $250, Judge Caprio said. "The penalty for failure to appear is another $300. That is the fixed cost, as you put it." Lex almost smiled. He pulled out his wallet, ready with a credit card. "I can handle that right now, Your Honor. I appreciate your time." He began to turn, already mentally composing the story he would tell about this inconvenience. "I haven't finished," the judge said. The words were not loud, but they cut through the air like a blade. Lex froze, his back to the bench. He slowly turned back around. "The court," Judge Caprio continued, "is not a toll booth. You do not pay a fee and drive on. You have demonstrated a profound disregard for this community, for the safety of its children, and for the authority of this court. You have, in fact, treated this entire proceeding with contempt." The word hung in the air, contempt. "Your license is suspended," the judge said, his tone absolute. "Effective immediately, for a period of 6 months. Lex's mouth fell open. The air left his lungs. You can't do that. I need to drive. For my work. My entire operation is mobile." "That," Judge Caprio said, "sounds like a significant factor. A cascading effect, even." The judge's use of his own corporate jargon against him was a devastating blow. Lex's carefully constructed composure shattered. The influencer vanished, leaving behind a spoiled, angry young man. "This is insane." Lex's voice rose, sharp and brittle. He took a step forward, pointing a finger at the bench. The bailiff shifted his weight, a subtle but clear warning. "You're destroying my livelihood over nothing, over a mistake. Do you know who I am? Do you have any idea how many people are listening to me?" Judge Caprio didn't flinch. He met the young man's furious gaze. "I know exactly who you are, Mr. Vance. You are a young man who believes his own publicity. You are so busy talking to your millions that you forgot how to speak to a single person with decency. And right now, you are shouting at a judge in his own courtroom. That is a very bad calculation." The dam had broken. All of Lex's polished talk, his business jargon, his self-importance, crumbled into pure, undiluted rage. The camera was off, the audience was hostile, and the director of this scene had just fired him. "You're a dinosaur!" Lex shouted, his face flushing a deep, blotchy red. Spittle flew from his lips. "You're a relic! The world has passed you by. I am the economy now. People like me. We don't need your permission. We don't need your dusty old rules." He was pacing now, a caged animal on the worn courtroom floor. He ripped the gold chain from his neck, clutching it in his fist. "This is a witch hunt. You're jealous. You see someone successful, someone who actually matters, and you can't stand it." He slammed his fist on the defense table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "I'll appeal this. I have lawyers better than this whole building. I'll bury you in motions. I'll make you famous, old man. I'll tell everyone what a joke you are." The bailiff took a firm step toward him. "Mr. Vance, control yourself." "Don't you touch me!" Lex screeched, recoiling. He was pure ID, a raw nerve of entitlement exposed. Every word was digging his hole deeper, and in some frantic, cornered part of his mind, he knew it. But he couldn't stop. This was his only tool, louder, angrier, more dramatic. It always worked online. It had to work here. Judge Caprio watched the meltdown with a look of profound, weary sadness. He had seen anger before, but this was different. This was a performance with no audience, a tantrum thrown in a vacuum. It was pathetic. "Are you finished?" the judge asked, his voice a calm ocean against Lex's hysterical storm. Lex was heaving breaths, his chest pounding. The silence that greeted the judge's question was more humiliating than any shouting match. He had exhausted himself, and it had changed nothing. The walls were still there. The judge was still there. The consequences were still there. "No," Lex gasped, his voice cracking. "No, I'm not finished. You can't do this to me." It was a whisper now, a child's plea. Judge Caprio looked at him, and for a fleeting moment, the stern jurist was replaced by something resembling pity. "You have been talking this entire time, son, but you haven't said a single thing that actually matters. Not one word of remorse, not one thought for anyone but yourself. You have shown this court exactly what you value, and now the court will show you what it values." He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod to the bailiff. The final outcome was swift and absolute. Judge Caprio's voice was ironclad, leaving no room for argument. "Your outburst has confirmed the court's assessment of your character," he stated. "The suspension stands. Furthermore, for your contemptuous behavior in this courtroom today, I am sentencing you to 10 days in the adult correctional institutions. You will be taken into custody immediately." The words, "taken into custody," finally broke through the last of Lex's defiance. The color drained from his face. The reality of a jail cell, a place with no cameras, no followers, no signal, crashed down upon him. It was a world that did not exist on any map he recognized. "No, please," he whispered, his bravado completely gone. He looked small. "Your Honor, I'm sorry. I am. I'll pay the fine. I'll do anything." "The time for apologies is over," Judge Caprio said. "It is time for consequences." He paused, letting the full weight of the moment settle on the young man's shoulders. "You spoke of your audience, of the millions who listen to you. I hope they are listening now. I hope they hear this." He leaned forward, his gaze encompassing not just Lex, but the entire room, the world beyond. Influence is not a number on a screen. It is not a brand deal or a viral moment. True influence is responsibility. It is the understanding that your actions have weight in the real world, where people live and children cross the street. It is about integrity when no one is watching, and humility when you are called to account. You sought to build a legacy in the digital ether, but you neglected the foundation. You forgot how to be a decent human being. The bailiff stepped forward, taking Lex firmly by the arm. There was no struggle left in him. He was led away, his head bowed, a stream of silent tears cutting through his performative mask. The gold chain lay forgotten on the floor. Judge Caprio watched him go, then picked up his gavel. The sound was clean and sharp, a period at the end of a sentence. "The lesson is simple," he said, to the now empty space where the influencer had stood. "Your platform is a privilege. Your character is your currency. And in this courtroom, and in life, if you talk back to the truth always wins." He moved on to the next case, the world continuing to turn, grounded in rules that no algorithm could ever overwrite.